This reeks of the club being upset at somebody at HSBC. For a minute, I thought, oh, maybe it's Deutsche Bank. They arrested somebody? What? Someone related to the banking industry is actually arrested? Well, someone you've never heard of, another patsy for HSBC this time. HSBC Global head of FX or Forex cash trading arrested at JFK Airport. A historic event took place moments ago when Mark Johnson, the global head of cash FX at HSBC, was arrested at JFK Airport for his role in a, quote, conspiracy to rig currency benchmarks, and specifically for front-running customer orders. He is the first person charged by the U.S. in the ongoing Forex rigging probe. As Bloomberg reports, a senior manager at HSBC Holdings plc was arrested in New York for his role in a conspiracy to rig currency markets, according to two people familiar with the matter, becoming the first person to be charged in the Justice Department's 3-year investigation into foreign exchange rigging at global banks. Now that's interesting, because when it comes to gold and silver, or oil for that matter, no rigging, nothing to see here. The rigging's okay. Let the big banks rig. But when it comes to Forex, can't let them rig. We're going to have to get a patsy on this one. Even so, who is this guy? Mark Johnson. I mean, if he's head, what do they call it? Global head of cash Forex at HSBC, Justice Department, the same Justice Department that let Hillary Clinton off, same Justice Department that hasn't brought any bankers to jail for their role in the 2008 crisis, that same one. But now all of a sudden, this guy's rigging the Forex market. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all rigged. All these different markets rigged. 21st market, Forex, we got to go after these guys. Can't be rigging the markets. Excuse me. 20 out of 21 markets are rigged. Now we find out it's 21 out of 21. What about the other 20? You're not going after anybody for that? No. We had a multi-year investigation into the silver rigging, as some of you alleged. Found nothing. Nothing happened. Well, hold on. Somebody called you specifically 2 times in a row, named not Martin Armstrong. Oh, what was his name? London trader. Can't think of his name. Andrew Maguire. Called you and emailed you and told you, okay, in such and such minutes, they're going to nail it. They're going to nail the silver market. It's going to be based on the non-farm payroll, and they're going to nail it. It's JP Morgan, their people doing this. Okay, I'll watch. Oh, yeah, they are pushing the market down, huh? That happened 2-3 times in a row. We'll investigate. We're going to open an official investigation, multi-year investigation, as you know. We've concluded nothing to see here. Nothing happened. Now, I remember a few years ago, I saw an interesting timing of events, and it was when the silver rigging first came out, and I believe it was right after Andrew Maguire first blew the whistle. And a small office fire, on almost no news on it, in a JP Morgan facility. And then a week to 2 weeks later, a small fire in the CFTC, some office building or another, CFTC, the regulators who were investigating. No one ever said, such as, well, we conclude our investigation, there's nothing to see here. They never said, well, part of us concluding that there's nothing to see here is because evidence we were relying on was lost in a fire. And we had copies of it, by the way, but they too were lost in the fire. Right? See, we didn't get to hear that part, nor did they ever say it was even related. But darn well as much as I do, they were related, and that's how they get rid of their stuff. Just like when Hurricane Sandy, going to the right, makes a sharp left turn, New York City, floods 55 Water Street, Seed & Co., fictitious name for the Depository Trust Clearinghouse, which is where all stocks, bonds, paper, assets go. They have a track record of all of them. They track them all. But because the storm came in, flooded the basement. $36 trillion in assets on paper. Vault must not have been up to par. Wait a minute, yes it was. It's fireproof and floodproof. So how the hell did that happen? Someone must have left the door open. And then, as absurd as this sounds, we're cleaning up the mess. So I saw the news and I read the news when it happened on my videos. Substantial damage to the vault contents. And as we were cleaning up, a fire started, causing more damage. And the people out there, you didn't hear any mainstream, you didn't hear really anyone complain about this except for people like me, which is very few of us who actually talk out loud about this. Nothing to see here. Just coincidences. Coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. So what the hell is happening here with HSBC? The Department of Justice adds that Mark Johnson, 50, a United Kingdom citizen... hold on. United Kingdom, Brexit, we left the euro. Some of the club members were not happy about that. Or at least the minions anyways. A UK citizen and UK and US resident, and Stuart Scott, 43, a UK citizen and resident, were charged by compliant with conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Johnson was arrested last night at JFK International Airport in Queens, New York, and will be arraigned later today before U.S. Magistrate Judge Lois Bloom of the Eastern District of New York. Johnson is a global head of foreign exchange cash trading at HSBC based in London. Prior to joining HSBC in 2010, he was managing partner and chief investment officer at Johnson Stewart Partners. Before that, he was global head of trading at, here we go, Deutsche Bank. Interesting connection there. Mark Johnson, HSBC's global head of foreign exchange cash trading in London, was taken into custody at John F. Kennedy International Airport Tuesday and is scheduled to appear before a judge in federal court on Brooklyn Wednesday morning, said the people, who asked not to be named because the case hasn't been made public. He's charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, the people said. And according to Bloomberg, Johnson's arrest comes more than a year after 5 global banks pleaded guilty to charges related to the rigging of currency benchmarks. HSBC, which wasn't part of those criminal cases in November 2014, agreed to pay $618 million in penalties to U.S. and British regulators to resolve currency manipulation allegations. HSBC, which still faces investigations by the Justice Department and other authorities for the conduct, has set aside $1.3 billion for possible settlements, according to an August filing. Oh, there'll be settlements. There's always settlements. We'd like to settle out of court. Sir, you cause $5-6 billion in fraud against the American people and essentially other people across the world because it's a global market. You want to settle though? All right. Pay us $400 million. Breaking news. HSBC agrees to pay record-setting $400 million settlement. Hold on. They made $8 billion. They made $8 billion doing it. But it sounds good in the news and newspapers. Record-breaking settlement. That'll teach those banks. Think you can get away? We've got justice here in this country, son. Excuse me. Bozo. Justice is just us. That means you and me. If I steal $5,000 from you, you take me to court. Justice works as promised. I'm guilty. They nailed me. Got to pay it back. Whatever. Sentenced. No problem. But if anybody in the club, or even related to the club, like the club's club, a sub-club, if you will, justice doesn't work there. You get screwed, they walk away. On multiple occasions, Johnson and Scott allegedly purchased pound sterling for HSBC's proprietary accounts, which they held until the client's planned transaction was executed. The complaint alleges that as part of the scheme, both Johnson and Scott made misrepresentations to the client about the planned foreign exchange transaction that concealed the self-serving nature of their action. So we're going to use your money, make some bets, make some money until you need it. You ready to have it? Okay, we need 2 to 3 days for proper wire transfer of that size to take place, okay? Reason being, we got to go find your money because we might have bet and actually lost on it. Now we're going to be in big trouble. So I got to find it somewhere. Here you go. And you at the other end, the client, had no idea what just happened. So that's what they're doing. Specifically, the complaint alleges that Johnson & Scott used the $3.5 billion foreign exchange transaction to be executed in a manner that was designed to spike the price of the pound sterling to the benefit of HSBC and at the expense of their client. In total, HSBC allegedly generated profits of roughly $8 million from its execution of the FX transaction for the victim company, including profits generated from the front-running conduct by Johnson Scott and other traders whom they directed. So in this particular case, you schmuck banks, or in this case HSBC, you only made $8 million. You only made $8 million. So maybe they're fine. We set aside $1.2 billion. What was that? 1.2 for settlement. So maybe this time, all the money they made, they can't say, well, this is a business model, guys. We made $5-6 billion on it. We only had to settle out of court for $400 million. My question is, they only made $8 million off of this one thing that's being brought up. This is one instance of one company with $3.5 billion at one time doing this. Them doing this with their money. How many other people that work for HSBC were doing the same thing with some other client's money, and not only once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. In other words, it is completely across the board common. We just had to pick out one little teeny tiny speck of sand out of this 5-gallon bucket of sand to make a case out of this and to tell everyone we're the regulators, we're going to go after you guys. And they pick one speck of sand out of a 5-gallon bucket of sand, of fraud, and say, here's what we found. That's how this rolls. Almost can't wait to see how this ends. At the same time, I think we already know how it's going to end. Settlement, he's brought up in charges. We can't really point it to him because he had guys working under him, but he said that he didn't authorize them to do that. They said he did authorize them to do that. We can't really... This may just get thrown out. We'll just pay the settlement out of court. Okay? All right. Have a nice day.